Hi, my name is Paul Pasulka, Ivy Masters Learning Center and ivymasters.com. And today we're going to look at Test 5, Section 1, number 44, which reads, as used in line 24, basic most nearly means. Now, whenever you see those words most nearly means, there are some things that you want to keep in mind. We would call this type of question vocabulary and context. It's not asking you whether or not you know the meaning of the word. In fact, the worst thing you could do is just say, hey, I know what the word basic means, and choose what it means. It's not testing whether or not you know the meaning of the word. It's testing whether or not you know how the word is used in context, the meaning that fits the context. So you always have to read it in context. So I used to have as my number one rule here that the most common meaning is usually not the correct answer, but what I would find is that students would automatically eliminate the most common meaning. So instead, it might be a safer bet to, you read the word, but don't pay any attention to any meaning of the word you're familiar with, and then you pick just based on what the context means. So ideally, you could predict what that word means based on the context, and then look at the answer choices. You might think of your own word that fits the context, or just a definition that fits the context. Or, if that doesn't work for all of them, you could put each answer choice in place of the original word and see what best fits. So let's go to actually the paragraph, and paragraph is talking about the brain. So the brain is a mutable organ capable within limits of reorganizing itself and readapting to new kinds of sensory input, a phenomenon known as neuroplasticity. It had long been thought that the adult brain was incapable of spawning new neurons, that while learning caused synapses to rearrange themselves and new links between brain cells to form, the brain's basic anatomical structure was more or less static, meaning it does not change. McGuire's study suggested that old inherited wisdom simply was not true. Now, it's not always necessary to read the whole paragraph. You guys are utterly unfamiliar with this passage unless you've read it before, so I'm reading the paragraph to get some context. When we look at the answer choices, the very first answer choice, initial. What does initial mean? Initial means first, or starting. So when we read that we're talking here about the adult brain, and it says its basic anatomical structure, we know it's not its initial anatomical structure, because that would be when someone is a baby. We're talking about an adult brain here. Initial is gone. Other answer choice, simple. It's actually not going to be the correct answer either. Why? Well, the brain is probably the most complex organ that the human body has. You do have to be careful about bringing outside information into the SAT, but this paragraph, there's nothing that suggests that the brain is a simple organ. In fact, it says that it is, up here it says it's mutable, which means it's changeable, and if anything that would suggest complexity. So you always want to answer according to exactly what the passage is saying. There's nothing that says here that the brain is simple in any way. Necessary. So if we read, let's use one of our strategies here. If we read with the word necessary in place, then we would have the brain's necessary anatomical structure was more or less static. So to call the brain's anatomical structure necessary, well, that's a little awkward. The brain is part of the physical world, so it does have an anatomical structure. Would it be necessary? I mean, yeah, everything that's in the physical world does have a structure, but there's no reason to say, hey, that the structure of the brain is necessary. The correct answer here actually winds up being fundamental. So when it says its basic anatomical structure is more or less static, its fundamental anatomical structure is more or less static. Notice here it's used as the most common meaning, which, remember, we only see 1 in 4 times. That's why you want to read it and ignore any meaning of the word you're familiar with, but you don't want to automatically eliminate the most common meaning of the word. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, click like. You could share it with someone who has trouble with vocabulary and context questions, or you could tag them in the comments so that they see this video. If there's any question you'd like to see answered from any official SAT or PSAT or ACT, you can leave that in the comments as well. And click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Have a great day.